How do we more effectively communicate our messages, and how do we increase learner recall? Brain research has validated the Pictorial Superiority Effect, which basically says we see in pictures and we remember in pictures. But how do you incorporate pictures and text using sound design principles? The big four in graphic design are contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. What you see, or in many cases don't see, sends a signal to our brain, and it assesses what we see. Is it going to hurt or harm us? Have we seen it before? Is it new or is it different? If none of those are present, our old brain goes to sleep. Researchers have long known the classical language regions of the brain, like Broca's area and Wernicke's area. These are the areas of the brain that interprets written words, but we want to engage more of our brain. Our brain sees in pictures. When you hear the word apple, what do you see in your mind? This red juicy apple or the letters A-P-P-L-E? Of course, you see an apple. Our brain processes words to pictures, which is another reason why we remember stories. The sensory stimulation is memorable. So we want to stimulate the sensory areas of our brain, and C.R.A.P helps you do that. Whatever elements you use in your instructional materials, we use the design principles of C.R.A.P. Contrast merely means difference. How many times have you seen a presentation with a list of bullet points with no differentiation? We use contrast to create interest and aid organization. Repetition. That just tells us to repeat certain items, such as our colors and shapes and textures and fonts, to achieve a unified look. Alignment just means nothing is placed arbitrarily. Have you ever seen a presentation with crooked pictures or text that should have been in alignment? What did you think? And proximity. It's about moving things closer or further apart to achieve a more organized look. So why do we see so many presentation courses and other visual media not incorporating C.R.A.P? What is this slide prompting you to do? You know, enter text. Give me a title. A typical PowerPoint has 40 words per slide, even though they don't have to be. Some of the tools you use don't intuitively facilitate the incorporation of visual, text, and other sensory elements. No wonder we end up with 40 words per slide and an absence of visual interest. Not only have we been trained to communicate primarily with words and not pictures or C.R.A.P principles, the tools we use have sometimes trained us to not intuitively engage and utilize those design principles. So, as a result, in industry and education, we often end up with a slide like this. This slide lacks a design priority, so it's C.R.A.P. In the absence of C.R.A.P, remember, the brain goes to sleep. Logos are great examples of C.R.A.P in practice. Look at the contrast in Starbucks, the alignment and proximity in the Olympic rings, the contrast in the Firefox logo, the famous yellow and red coloring of fast food restaurants. Look at this logo. It incorporates contrast, alignment, proximity. What do you notice about these logos? And what does that tell us about C.R.A.P and engagement? Picture and color grabs our attention. Marketers figured this out a long time ago. We pay lots of attention to color, which speaks to contrast. And we pay attention to size, which speaks to alignment and proximity. And you also pay attention to repetition, like the squares in this Microsoft logo. The best visuals for learning also incorporates C.R.A.P. These principles are true in marketing, and they are true in learning. So what's going on with this logo? We don't use C.R.A.P arbitrarily. When London unveiled this 2012 Olympic logo, it was a dismal failure. There's another principle you want to keep in mind as you apply C.R.A.P, and it's called signal to noise ratio. The signal is what you are trying to convey. They wanted to convey, come to the Olympics in 2012. That was the signal. However, the noise, all of this pink graffiti-like cutouts, all the shapes, the alignment or lack of alignment, and all the proximity issues, that's the noise. And the noise in this logo is louder than the signal. When applying C.R.A.P, make sure your signal, what you want to convey, is louder than your noise. So let's revisit the principles of C.R.A.P. Contrast just means difference. Our brains are wired to notice difference. Perhaps our brains still think we're on the Serengeti, looking out for wild predators. The great thing about contrast is we can achieve contrast easily. Any design element can be contrasted with another. You can contrast space, placing things closer together or further apart, filling up the space or leaving it empty. You can contrast color, light colors against dark colors. You can contrast fonts. When making use of contrast, remember to bring one element in the design to the forefront. Repetition. Repetition is simply the process of repeating elements throughout a document, presentation, or other media to achieve a unified look. While contrast is about showing differences, repetition is about subtly using elements to unify a visual or a document so it is viewed as part of a larger whole. Elements like a consistent background or shape or font or picture. This doesn't mean they have to be the same size, but they should be repeated enough in the document to pull all their pages together into a larger whole. Alignment is all about being cognizant of how you place items on a page or a slide. The whole point is that nothing in the slide design should look like it was placed randomly. Each element is connected visually via an invisible line. While repetition is about creating unity across a deck or a document, alignment is about creating unity across a single slide or a single page. And finally, the principle of proximity is about moving things closer or further apart to achieve a more organized look. The principle says related items should be grouped together so they are viewed as a group. Learners should not be tasked with trying to figure out what goes with what or what line of text goes with what title. Don't take away from the learning by making learners think about the wrong things. Remember to take note of where your eye goes first when it scans a page or a slide. Eye tracking research suggests that our eyes naturally follow a Z format, which means we kind of start at the top left, ending at our bottom right. Using C.R.A.P will help you ensure your visuals and by extension your learning in courses are memorable.